right. Welcome back. This is video 3 of The Wolves We Loved. So I'm going to continue page 7 of in chapter 1. So the danger of conditional affection is that it doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in. It whispers. It shifts the air long before it shifts the tone. And when your sense of worth becomes tied to someone else's approval, your choices begin to warp around them. You stop asking yourself what you want and start asking yourself what will keep the peace, what will keep the warmth flowing, what will keep the wolf from going cold. Despite having a loving husband who tried to show me what was happening, I began making decisions based not on my desires, but on her expectations. If she wanted me to be at a family event, even if I was exhausted, I went. If she approved of a hobby, I invested in it. If she dismissed a friend, I distanced myself. If she hinted that something made me look unstable, I dropped it completely. It wasn't loyalty, it was survival. The wolf knows exactly how to blur the line between guidance and control. She framed her preferences as insights into my happiness. You seem happier when you focus on this. Don't waste your time with that person. They stress you out. Or my favorite, I just want what's best for you. But her version of best always meant do it my way. Her suggestions became directives wrapped in devotion. Her guidance wasn't support, it was steering. Little by little, I learned to anticipate her desires before she voiced them. I read her tone like a script. I studied her silences like warnings. I monitored my own reactions for approval, constantly adjusting, constantly performing. I became a detective in my own relationship, searching for clues in her expressions, her pauses, her half smiles. What pleased her yesterday might irritate her today. What earned praise once might earn criticism now. The rules shifted daily, and I was always one step behind, scrambling to stay inside her good graces. And the more unpredictable she became, the more I blamed myself. That's the hook. That's the trap. When love becomes a test you didn't know you were taking, every mistake feels fatal. The transition into conditional affection was so subtle I barely registered the change. Compliments that once felt warm now carried qualifiers. Acts of kindness came with mentions of sacrifice. Support came with reminders of everything she had done for me. The once constant reassurance began to taper, replacing with something cooler, harder, more evaluative. It was death by 1,000 shifts, and when I tried to name the difference, when I tried to say something feels off, she did what wolves do best. She made me doubt myself. What? I haven't changed. You're reading too much into things. You're overly sensitive. You're imagining problems that don't exist. I love you just the same. But her actions told a very different story. A story where the warmth was transactional. A story where the rules were unwritten but strictly enforced. A story where affection was no longer something I received, it was something I had to earn. The worst part is how quickly you normalize it. You start believing all love works this way, that affection is conditional, that belonging is contingent, and your worth depends on someone else's comfort. You internalize the economy of your approval. You begin to measure yourself by how smoothly you can meet their shifting expectations. Love becomes a currency. Your identity becomes payment. You invest your time, your energy, your emotional labor, hoping for a small return, a smile, a warm tone, a day where you aren't criticized or corrected. And when you don't get that return, when the warmth is withheld, you assume that fault is yours. Resentment brews quietly, but so does self-blame. And somewhere along the way, the freedom to simply be is replaced by the pressure to perform. This is how wolves tighten the leash without ever touching it. This is how you become smaller without realizing you're shrinking. This is how you lose the shape of who you are long before you understand you've been disappearing. Eventually, conditional love transforms every interaction into a performance. The warmth that once felt like affirmation becomes an award. The support becomes a leash, and you, exhausted, hopeful, desperate to keep the connection intact, start reshaping yourself into whatever version of you earns the next flicker of approval. Authenticity becomes a liability. Your true self becomes too risky, and the love you were promised now feels like a rationed commodity, given sparingly, unpredictably, and always at a cost. The wolf's allure, once tender and intoxicating, slowly reveals its undertone. A love that must be earned, a love that shifts with her mood, a love that was never unconditional to begin with. And right when you start to feel unsteady, she doubles down on the oldest, most powerful tool in her arsenal, mirroring. The early stages of being entangled with a wolf doesn't operate through logic. They bypass the mind entirely and sink their teeth into something far older. Your need to be seen, your longing to be understood, your hunger to feel chosen. My wolf, once again, mastered this effortlessly. She didn't just listen, she absorbed. She studied me with the intensity of someone taking apart a clock to understand where every gear fits. And then piece by piece, she rebuilt herself into a reflection of me. My humor became her humor. My wounds became her wounds. My dreams became our dreams. My vocabulary, my convictions, my beliefs mirrored so precisely it felt supernatural. Where I was vulnerable, she was suddenly insightful. Where I struggled, she had been there too. Where I doubted myself, she had always understood me better than anyone. She made a blueprint of my heart and constructed a persona to match it. One of the first things she said to me was, "You're the sister I had always prayed for." It was disarming, powerful, strategic. Her mirroring wasn't just verbal. She mirrored my insecurities, my longing to be accepted, my desire for a family connection. She echoed back every tender truth I had whispered in confidence, turning them into proof that we were the same, that I had finally found someone who got me, and that's where the idealization begins. Wolves don't just mirror you, they evaluate you. They place you on a pedestal so high the fall becomes inevitable. Ugh. She told me I was extraordinary. She told me I had the biggest heart, the deepest empathy, the strongest resilience. She told me I was misunderstood by everyone but her. She told me I wasn't too sensitive, too emotional, too much. Again, the same traits she would later twist into weapons. She didn't just make me feel loved, she made me feel chosen. And again, when you spent your whole life being told you're too intense, too emotional, too complicated, being chosen feels like salvation. She became the person who saw my value, who praised my strength, who insisted no one else would appreciate me the way that she did, who claimed she was the only one trying to help them understand me. She created the illusion that we were soul level aligned, that she was the missing piece of my life, that I was the missing piece of hers. It felt like belonging. It felt like fate. It felt like finally being seen. But it wasn't fate, and it wasn't soul recognition. It was strategy. Mirroring creates a chemical bond, fast, intoxicating, almost addictive. And once that bond forms, once you believe someone understands you better than anyone ever has, you won't see the danger until the mask begins to slip. You won't realize that every shared dream was rehearsed, every shared fear was leveraged, every shared value was a performance, and every compliment was given to the version of you that served her best. Idealization is how wolves make you feel cherished. Mirroring is how they make you feel understood. And when you feel both at once, you don't just trust them. You trust them more than you trust yourself. That's the point where the trap begins to close. Idealization thrives in the moments when connection feels suspended from the world. The long conversations, the late night confessions, the uninterrupted stretches of closeness where everything feels sacred and rare. With my wolf, it wasn't road trips. It was hour-long conversations, the kind that made time blur and the responsibilities disappear. It was a midnight emotional unspooling where she would say, "See, this is why we're so close. This is why I need you." It was a voice messages that stretched 15, 20 minutes, her voice soft, trembling, drawing a perfect parallel between her wounds and mine. She studied me in these moments, the way I opened up, the way I softened when someone mirrored my pain. The way I felt safest when someone recognized my insecurities not as flaws, but as proof of my depth. Every time I shared something vulnerable, a fear, a hurt, a childhood wound, she matched it with something even more dramatic, something that made it seem like we were two halves of the same broken constellation. It felt like the universe had tied us together. She didn't just validate my struggles, she reframed them as evidence of my brilliance. You are sensitive because you feel deeply, she'd say. That's what makes you rare. That's what makes you strong. And I'm so grateful I get to witness you. Every insecurity became a trait she admired. Every self-doubt became something she insisted only she understood. Every pain I revealed became another link in a chain I didn't notice tightening. As she idolized me, she encouraged me subtly, sweetly, to idolize her back. She shared her own stories in a way that placed her both as a victim and a survivor, someone who had suffered enough to get me, someone only I could comfort, someone only I could support. I've never met anyone who sees me like you do, she'd whisper. You're the only one I could talk to. You're the only one who understands my heart. It felt like belonging. It felt like we were both finally safe. It felt like family. And that was the hook. Every shared moment, cooking dinner together, exchanging long messages, venting about life, crying about old wounds, or simply sitting quietly, understanding, became another stitch in a bond that felt too perfect to question. She mirrored my humor, my empathy, my emotional depth. She celebrated my quirks as if they were sacred traits. Even mundane routines became rituals of closeness, shopping trips where she insisted we had the same tastes, conversations about my dreams she said she shared, moments where she'd say, I swear we were meant to be sisters. What I didn't see was that she was mapping me. My fears, my soft spots, my longing, my scars. She was constructing the perfect version of herself to fit the person I needed. And I fell for the illusion because it felt like healing, like the kind of love I'd always thought family was supposed to offer, like being chosen after a lifetime of feeling peripheral. The the emotional high was overwhelming, euphoric, dangerously warm. Because when someone mirrors your soul, you don't question the reflection, you lean into it. You believe it's real. You believe they're real. You believe the connection is fate, and that's how wolves build the bubble. A world where you feel seen, cherished, irreplaceable, only to later weaponize every piece you gave them. The mirroring stage is intoxicating, but the next phase is where the wolf tightens the net. Once the bond is formed, you feel chosen and understood. The wolf accelerates the connection at a dizzying speed. Suddenly, she wants more time, more closeness, more emotional access than anyone ever has. Not slowly, not gradually, all at once. With my wolf, it wasn't physical closeness, it was a constant communication. Voice messages that lasted 20 minutes, paragraph-long texts sent at all hours, daily check-ins that slowly became mandatory rather than ritual. A steady stream of emotional urgency disguised as intimacy. I just need to talk to you. You're the only one who understands me. Please don't pull away. I can't lose you. Every time we talk, I feel whole again. It felt flattering at first, the intensity, the immediacy, the way she seemed desperate not to lose proximity with me. But intensity is not love, it's a strategy. She filled the quiet spaces of my life with herself, made herself my confidant, my emotional constant, and the one I checked in with, the one I didn't want to disappoint. Little by little, she created an emotional vacuum, one I didn't even realize she was training me to rely on. Her urgency became my responsibility, and because I had been starved for family connection for so long, I responded to every message. I stayed up late to comfort her. I allowed her access to me that no one else had earned. I felt needed in a way that felt sacred. But devotion that intense doesn't stay soothing. It eventually becomes suffocating. And once she knew she had me, once she sensed that closeness had been secured, the earliest cracks appeared. Minor red flags didn't feel like red flags at first, despite my husband's attempts to show me what was happening. They felt like quirks, like passion, like evidence of our special bond. Her possessiveness wasn't controlling, it was framed as love. I just want you to myself. No one else understands you like I do. I don't like it when other people influence you. You're different when you spend too much time with them. Her subtle isolation didn't feel like manipulation, it felt like protection. I wouldn't trust what people in the family are telling you. They aren't being honest. They don't appreciate you. People don't get your heart like I do. They don't deserve your energy. And because she mirrored me so precisely, because she had made me feel cherished in ways I had never experienced, I didn't question any of it. Not yet. What makes this phase so dangerous is how deeply it fulfills the human longing to be seen, to be valued, and cherished. She gave me a version of connection I had never felt before. She touched the oldest wounds in me, the ones shaped by decades of not belonging, of being misunderstood and being too much. She offered belonging in a way that felt like healing. And once that need was activated, she began planting seeds of doubt with surgical precision. Not harsh criticism, not overt disapproval, nothing obvious, at least not yet. Just soft, quiet, intimate concerns, delivered in moments when I felt safe with her. It often sounded like love. She would listen when I shared something I was proud of. Again, work accomplishment, progress in therapy, a moment of personal clarity. And she'd smile, praising me warmly. Then she gently twisted the knife. So proud of you, but I worry you hold back too much. You're doing amazing, but I wish you'd believe in yourself more. You're so strong, but sometimes your emotions scare people. There was always a but. Her critiques were dressed up as compliments. Her doubts were wrapped in devotion. Her concerns were delivered with a softness meant to disarm me. And because she had spent months mirroring me so perfectly, I believe she saw something I couldn't. Her feedback burrowed underneath my skin, made me question myself, made me wonder if she was right, made me believe that she was the only one capable of really understanding me. She would cut my heart in one hand and undermine it with another, all while saying, I'm only telling you this because I love you. That's the brilliance of wolves. They don't break you in one blow. They weaken you in whispers, slowly shifting your self-trust to match the shape they want you to fit. And when the critique comes from someone who idolizes you, it feels like wisdom rather than manipulation. Begin to ask yourself, am I really holding myself back? Am I not as strong as I thought? Am I too emotional? Am I too much? Am I neurotic? Am I the problem? Didn't know it then, but those were the first fractures, hairline cracks in the foundation she had built beneath me, the same foundation she would later collapse. The earliest seeds of doubt, again, never really feel like doubt. They feel like concern, like protection, like someone gently holding your chin and saying, let me help you see what you can't. When I came to her confused about a familial rift or second guessing a social interaction, she would always have the same soothing response. You're so kind. You're just too giving sometimes. You have such a big heart that people take advantage of you. I just worry because you trust too easily. It sounded like love, protective, wise, but the undertone was always the same. Your goodness is a flaw. Your kindness makes you naive. You don't understand people as well as I do. She positioned herself as a protector with clearer eyes, the one who knew how the world worked, the one who would guide me so I didn't get hurt. That's how the wolf shifts the balance, by making you believe your strengths are liabilities. It wasn't just friendships, it was my dreams too. Whenever I spoke with excitement about something I wanted, a new idea, a future plan, even a harmless creative spark, she'd smile warmly, tilt her head, and deliver their signature blend of encouragement and restraint. I love that you dream so big, but you'd think that's realistic right now? I'd hate to see you disappointed. You're passionate, but you really need to slow down and think this through. Not outright discouragement, just enough doubt to make me question my own judgment. And once doubt takes root, once you begin to look at the wolf for permission to dream, that's the trick. These observations weren't criticisms. They were concerns. They were framed as insights. They were delivered softly as if she were the only one brave enough to tell me the truth, but every concern chipped away at something inside me. One comment may have been easily to brush off, but they didn't come one at a time. They arrived gently, consistently, cumulatively. Goodness, words are hard. You're too trusting. You're too emotional. You're too intense. You're too anxious all the time. You need to relax. You get attached too easily. You let people walk all over you. You misread situations. You don't set boundaries. You're too independent, and it scares me how much you carry alone. Each one delivered while she held my gaze with words that sounded like love but shifted the ground beneath my feet. The very qualities she idolized in the beginning, my empathy, my resilience, my heart, were now reframed as weaknesses that only she understood. The distortion was so subtle that I thought the discomfort was my own fault. I thought she was trying to help me grow. I thought she saw something in me that I couldn't see myself. That's how manipulation works when wrapped in tenderness. You don't feel controlled, you feel guided. The wolf uses your vulnerabilities like brushstrokes, painting a version of you that depends on her clarity, her approval, her direction. And because I trusted her so deeply, it was easy for her words to slip past my defenses and take root. I started second guessing myself constantly. Did I really misread that moment? Was I too emotional? Was I too trusting? Was my dream unrealistic? Was I holding myself back? Was I unintentionally pushing people away? I didn't realize then that my internal compass was being recalibrated, not towards truth, but towards compliance. When she said things like, "You are so strong that it scares me. I just wish you'd lean on me more," it felt like comfort. But buried in that softness was a real message. Your independence is a threat to my control. And when she said, "You're brilliant, sometimes I wonder if you even know how lucky you get," it sounded admiring, but the implication was clear. Don't trust your success. Don't trust yourself. Her words burrowed into the parts of me still healing, turning insecurities into dependencies, turning doubts into truths, turning me inward towards her and away from everyone else. Passive aggression became her dialect, not outright criticism, just sighs, gentle questions, soft comparisons that carried sharp edges. That's brave of you to wear. Are you sure it's flattering? Are you really happy spending your time like that? I just wish you'd choose things that challenge you more. You were capable of so much better. I just hate seeing you settle. Nothing loud, nothing overt, just enough pressure to make me adjust herself in her direction. Like water wearing down stone, each subtle erosion reshaping me. I didn't see it happening. No one ever does. Because wolves don't break you in one blow. They break you in whispers. They break you in guidance that feels loving. They break you in the quiet moments when your guard is down and your heart is open. And by the time the more overt manipulation begins, your confidence has already been softened, your boundaries thinned, your instincts blunted, and you don't question the wolf because she taught you to question yourself. That is how this chapter ends. Not with fangs, not with violence, but with the softest, sweetest erosion of self, the kind you mistake for love until it's too late. That's the end of chapter 1. Stay tuned for chapter 2, The Slow Unraveling Begins. Until next time, get your copy of The Wolves We Love on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Ingram Spark today. Have a great day.